Good afternoon. This is the December 15th, 2022 regular meeting of the Delaware County Interactive Gaming Revenue Authority. And I call this meeting to order. Please join me and rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, and indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'll ask our Secretary, Ron Evans, for a roll call.
Okay, I see all 5 members are here, and our solicitor, Frank Daly, is also here.
Thank you. Everyone should have received a copy of the agenda. It is also uploaded on desigra.org in advance, according to the new Sunshine Act laws. Do we have any questions about the agenda? I'll make a motion to approve the agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstain, agenda approved. At this time, we'll open up the meeting to public comment concerning the agenda. Do we have any public comment concerning the agenda? All right, all of you should have received the minutes of the November 22 DeSigra meeting from our secretary, Ron Evans, who provides them to us rather quickly after our meetings. Are there any questions or comments about those minutes? I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the November 22 DeSigra meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Vince. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Minutes are approved. At this time, we will move on to our treasurer's report. Mr. Stefan Roots.
Good afternoon. The December 2020, the December 2022 treasurer's report reads as such. Our opening balance was $69,858.07. In this past cycle, we received the deposit into our bank account, $94,219.76. We received a whopping $6.03 interest this month, a very even $37,500 in checks were cleared. The ending balance on our bank statement for November, which was dated November 30th, $126,553.86. There's a few corrections, and I'll note them as we go through. I will resend this report out with the corrections. So one of the first ones is right here, the current bank, excuse me, the current bank balance as of December 14th, that's today, is $113,654.19. We've got a slew of checks cleared, and they're listed on the report in the order of check number, and they totaled to $37,500. And there's a few outstanding checks that are out there. None of them have exceeded 30 days. The one correction is check number 1099 to the Marple Township Police Department. It's listed here at $250. It should be $2,500. The only other omission on this statement, and it will be added with the correction that will go out, is we, on our last statement, the $30 stop check fee for check number 1063. Oh, I forget who it went to, but it was never received by our grantee. Thank you. But they had received the replacement check and it has been cashed. And that was a $30 bank fee. Any questions or comments on the report?
I'll just make a comment. Checks number 1097 for 1996.50 to Eddystone was presented jointly by Stefan and myself on Monday, as well as check 1099 to Marple Township Police for $2,500. Stefan, on behalf of the city of Chester, received in person the check for $2,500 for check number 1110 for the city of Chester Fire. So I'm sure he put that in their hands. Sharon Hill Arts and Cultural Commission, that check was mailed yesterday, Wednesday. And I mailed about 3 of them. So I think the other ones might have been the Radnor and it's Chester Township. I have to look at the dates. So I believe all these will be cleared by the end of December, most likely. That's the only comment I have to make. Are there any other comments or questions about the treasurer's report?
I guess the only bragging right comment I have is that we were featured in today's paper for the
Oh,
Marple check presentation.
okay.
So I think it was really good only to highlight your comment that there is still money left in this fund. So hopefully with that presence in the paper, we'll get those last few applications so we could draw down that money.
Cool. Thank you.
Really good article.
All right, so I'll let you make the motion to approve. Well, I'll make the motion to approve the December 22 treasurer's report. Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstain. Treasurer's report is approved. Thank you. At this time, I will turn it over to our solicitor, Frank Daly, to see if he has a report for this month.
I have nothing to report.
Do you want to discuss the census report?
I did fill out the form and I sent you all copies of it. Any questions? Let me
Okay.
know.
Do you want to just very briefly say what it is? Is this a communication from the federal census 2020? And if so, why did we get sent it?
We are a governmental agency. And having filled out the form, 90% of it does not really involve us. They want to know how many tax dollars that you've raised and this or that. So it really is, it's for government, but we are a governmental agency. About the only question that applied to us is what was our gross receipts from the year from all these other sources that we didn't get, meaning what we were left with. And it was about 294,000. They were operating off of the December 31st, 2021 year, and that's the one we had the audit. So I took the figure right from the audit.
Great. Interesting. So we should expect to receive that every year, that question.
Oh, every 10 years.
Every 10 years.
It's a census.
Interesting.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you for doing that.
Right.
Any questions from our solicitor to our solicitor or comments? Thank you. All right, so let's move on to old business, emergency services grant round 2 update. That will be myself since I'm kind of administrating that grant. As of yesterday, we have 1 applicant for I believe this quarter. And I didn't put it on here because we're not voting on it right now. So we still have approximately $16,000 remaining in round 2. So if anyone is watching from a emergency services entity within the county, you can apply up until December 31st, 2022 by going on dcigra.org, dcigra.org, to download the application and submit it to info@dcigra.org. And that concludes my report. We did have some that we did that we have been awarding over the past few months because county council approved the 3rd quarter recipients in, I believe, November. So we started writing those checks in November. Some have been mailed and some have provided us with an opportunity to present them at their either fire company meetings or their board of commissioners or borough council meetings. So we've made a couple of those public presentations. Any questions for me?
So for folks we approved today, when would council meet next to approve them?
So okay, so right now we have no emergency services grants that we're putting forth for
Right.
today, but for these ones, the ones that we're about to discuss, once we approve them today, we will submit them in January, early January.
Okay,
And they
Got it.
will approve those early January, and then we'll distribute the checks early to mid-January.
got it.
Yeah. Because I, from what I believe, I don't think there are any more county council meetings this month. Yeah. Okay, so we should be able to get on that agenda.
Yeah,
Okay.
great.
Okay, no problem. Thank you. All right, the next order of old business is the Arts and Culture Fund update. And I believe we're gonna
We
go
have
to
three.
Ron or go to Francis.
Okay. Francis, when you.
Just that we have three proposals in front of us, all of which we are recommending for funding. One from LifeWorks, one from Keep Music Alive, and one from Music Works. And that would bring, if we were to approve all three of those, that would bring us up to $65,336 in grants out of
That
the
is-
80,000 we committed.
That is incorrect. I made a mathematical
Okay.
order when I put this agenda together, so I do want to revise that.
Sure.
The total, the following motions are for 2022 grants for three entities. The total amount for today is $24,696, correct, Ron?
686.
686.
686.
24,686. And the new total is now
Ah.
$74,336.
Because it's 24,686 on top of 49,650. Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
I made a mistake when I put this together.
Okay,
And that's,
so we're at 74,000. So we only have approximately 5,600 left to grant.
correct,
And that would, our deadline was December 31st, though.
correct.
Okay, so it would just roll over into the general fund if we don't get any more applications.
Well,
We can
No.
We can get something up until December. If we get
Then
something,
we
we'll
could
vote
see
on
in
it.
January.
We'll vote on it in January. And then
Sure,
county council would vote on it late January. They would get the
Okay.
funds in February.
okay.
Yeah.
So,
But I think our prior meeting, we voted to spend the remainder on something specific.
No, that was something else. That was
we talked
emergency
about it,
services.
but we just didn't agree to do that.
All right, so wait, let me go back. So we voted, I made a motion at the last meeting that if there are any remaining emergency services funds, that we would provide that to the Salvation Army canteen. The
Oh, okay,
balance of
that's
that.
what I'm thinking.
We didn't say anything about the balance of this fund.
Oh,
If
okay.
they're exhausted by December 31st, if we receive an application by December 31st and we agree to approve it in January, then that will be what that is. If not, then
So I have a proposal to make. If we don't receive any grants before the end of December, I would suggest that we use that balance, that 5,600, to support Delco Arts Week.
for next year,
Which would benefit all of the arts providers in the county. That's just a thought.
okay,
I feel like we've done enough outreach to arts groups to let them know about this.
correct.
So that's just a thought. It'd have to be a motion on next month's
Because it's not,
agenda,
Frank,
right?
is that correct? Because because it concerns a monetary decision, correct? Okay, I'm in approval of that. I don't know if we can have a casual discussion now, and then I can put it on I don't have a problem putting that on the agenda. Are there any comments about that? Because that is related to the
The topic.
Delco Tourism Organization, right? Okay.
Well, yeah,
It's an initiative of the Delco Tourism.
and the Foundation for Delaware County,
Okay,
we actually
okay.
initiated.
Any comments or question on that proposal, even though it's not an official motion yet? Okay, all right, so we'll we'll see what happens and I'll put it on the agenda and we'll take a vote on it in January and see how it goes. All right. So let me put that balance. Would either of you like to make the motions for these grants or would you like me to do it
I'm happy to move all three.
individually? Ron, you mind doing it?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to approve $77,936 grant for LifeWorks, subject to county council approval.
Do we have a second?
Second,
Any questions or comments concerning this motion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstain?
I'd like to move to grant $6,750 to keep music alive.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstain?
And I'd like to move to, we grant $10,000 to Music Works, subject to county council approval.
Do we have a second?
second,
Questions or comments? All those that approve, please say aye.
aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstain? Motions are carried. Thank you. And as you can see on the agenda, the next page, there are no emergency grants for the second round to vote on. At this time, we have, I believe it's $34,746.17 that have been awarded out of the $50,000 second round grant. So we have approximately $16,000 left. That might actually be adjusted down because we actually spent $51,934 in the first grant, and we agreed that the total would be $100,000, but we'll see what happens if anything else comes in. At this time, we have the 2023 budget, so I will open the floor to Francis and Vince for any comments, and then we'll entertain a motion to approve the budget.
So we've had some discussion. We went back through what our expenses were over the past year and to look at what our operating expenses we anticipated over the coming year for our QuickBooks software, the audit again, website, printing, postage, solicitors fees, et cetera, and estimate about $21,000 in operating expenses, fixed, a fixed number that we would have to account for. We're anticipating we'll have approximately $50,000 to $55,000 in the bank by the end of December, depending on cash checks. And so if we wanted to leave the account by the end of the year with an approximate amount of money, a similar amount of money after the $20,000 in expenses, we thought we would have at least $360,000 to be able to give out in grants, assuming $90,000, at least $90,000 in receipts in each quarter from the gaming revenue. We're not recommending any specific grant categories. That would be up for discussion in the by the board. But so if we were to start with 52,194 was the number we were looking at, add in 360,000 in, or take off add in 360,000 in income, take off $20,968 in operating expenses, and then make, 345,000 in grants, we would be left at the end of the year with $46,227. And we're presenting this as a working budget for us to be able to look at on a quarterly basis. We could always end up giving out more if we find that we have the income is healthier, but we could also give out a little less at the end of the year if we find that the gaming revenue is reduced. So that is the budget that we came up with.
Yeah, I just want to thank the chair and Francis for the opportunity to be a part of this budget process in my first year on the board. I think it was an interesting and productive exercise. And, while we're not proposing specific grant categories, I do think the conversation we had was very helpful. And I like the idea of solidifying a small group of core strategic partners for the authority that helps us sort of be grounded in the community and support things that are beneficial broadly across the entire county year after year. So that was an idea that came out of the process that I thought people really liked and I think would benefit both the authority and the county in the long run.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the authority members?
Thank you for doing this for us.
It was our honor and our pleasure.
Thank you. I have a suggestion. We can talk about it in more detail later. I don't know if it needs a formal motion. So right now, because I'm looking at the projected income, and it's been great that we got 90,000. We don't know if that's going to be the case next year. Hopefully it's more than that. And we have been tracking, I think every quarter we've actually been tracking with more revenue each quarter, I'm sorry. Out of our grants, the only one that is where decisions are made on a quarterly basis is the emergency services grant. And I think it allows us to kind of control our cash flow to a certain extent. And I was thinking that maybe we should consider doing that with the future grant categories. The categories, not the special grants, but the categories. If we can kind of accumulate them, I think we will have more of a vetting process to make more strategic decisions rather than if we don't spend all the money. I mean, if we spend all the money or if it exceeds, we can kind of make real strategic decisions. If there is capacity, then we can continue with a first come, first served basis. So it's just something to consider because, so for example, one thing I was thinking of for next year is maybe we do, if we want to call it round 3 of emergency services, we open that up in the second quarter and we make our decisions at the end of the second quarter, and those are awarded the money is distributed in July, which for some of those emergency services organizations, such as the police departments, that will be in advance of the National Night Out. And if we did do another one, depending on how our income streams look, we could look at the fourth quarter of next year, have those accumulate, and then those could be awarded in the first quarter of January 24. And that just gives us a little bit more maneuverability concerning cash flow. So it's just a discussion. I just wanted to bring that up. But otherwise, I like this budget, and I look forward to our discussions about the grant categories.
I do think we're going to want to move money out the door pretty quickly in the first quarter because we're going to end the year with 50,000 in the bank and get another 90 pretty soon thereafter. And well, just looking real quickly at that.
So you're thinking we may be sitting on some revenue, not revenue, but funds.
I thought we were
Right
ending the
now.
year with, 50, but it actually looks like it could be considerably more than that. And then we're going to get another 90. So I think that as soon as we can issue an RFP, for instance, if we decide we want to do the youth grants again, we should probably issue that RFP early in the quarter so that we don't find ourselves at the end of the quarter with a lot of money and a couple of $100,000 in the bank. I mean, the point of the money is to work
Is
for
to
the
get it out to the
community.
community, correct, yeah.
So,
I agree. Yep.
yeah.
Okay, any other questions or comments about the budget? I'll make the motion to approve the 2023 DeSigra operating budget with comment that specific grant category allocations will be determined. Do I have a second?
Second.
Questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstain, motion approved. I have one here to continue priority discussion, so we have some time to do that if you'd like to. And I know that Vince was making a mention of some strategic partners a little bit earlier. So we can start the process.
I think we had taught when Vince and I had met, we were talking about the different, we have all these wonderful youth serving organizations. We had wonderful emergency grants, the arts and culture grants. We wanted to do those 3 buckets again, that less money, because we don't have as much money to give away next year as we did this past year. But we wanted to move into the economic and community development parks arena. We had talked about that, but we moved it more to the end of the year because we wanted to see how much we would have. But then we talked about, there were a couple of grantees that we had, like SHARE and the Delaware County Literacy Council, that are really important nonprofit service providers in the county, but they don't fit into any of those 3 buckets. So we thought that there might be an opportunity in the coming year to develop some relationships with what we call, you said key partners. 3 or 4 nonprofits that don't fit in the buckets we've created, but really are really important, serving the whole county, who we wanted to give a substantial grant to each year. No commitments at this point, but
Right.
that was, what we were thinking.
I have a question because, okay, first thing I would like to say is, I think we should expand the arts and culture to arts, culture, and history. Because I think history is part of our culture, and I think there wasn't anything specifically defined in there. And I know there's some historical opportunities across the county that could be eligible for this funding as well.
Would you increase the size of we did 80 last year, would you, by adding another category to that bucket?
Well, but
We won't talk about dollar amounts yet.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I can't answer that question because we're looking at, we have EMS.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with your suggestion.
Okay, all right. The other comment I wanted to say is, I know there's been some discussion about when we look at the constituencies that we've served, we've done stuff for youth, we've done stuff for our emergency services. We haven't really had anything targeted towards our senior population. I don't know if we have to do a specific category, but I like the idea of all of our special grants, and you've been great at administrating that, Francis. All of them have been beneficial to either countywide or they've been beneficial to more than one municipality. So I kind of like that idea. And there were several senior services organizations in the county that provide services to multiple municipalities. So
Yeah.
I don't know if we continue that practice of a special category. We invite them in either for a presentation and or a letter for consideration, and then we make a motion at that meeting. But that's an area that I would like to consider. Any other questions or comments concerning categories?
One of the categories I am very close to, fond of, have a lot of experience with is journalism. And when I think of, journalism in our space of where we could maybe target some grants, my first and actually only thought is the schools and their school newspapers.
That is so interesting. I was at a conference where there was conversation about the value of a free press in civic engagement and how important it is to get young people make sure that their student papers are well funded and that they have that early experience with journalism. Would you see the schools applying for funding for their school newspapers, or what was your thinking?
Yes, that's really what I would see, the schools applying. I don't think it would necessarily have to be a largely funded grant, because I don't think there's many out there. And even of the ones out there, I don't think they'll all apply. There's probably only, let's say, our better funded schools are probably the ones that most likely have the school newspapers. So I just to get that seed out there, and to the point you made it, these papers that do exist, maybe should get a little love from outside, because I can't imagine that they get anything from anywhere other than from their school districts. The thing that sort of makes me counter myself with this whole thing is the fact that it's the well-funded school districts that are probably the only ones with these student journalism projects. But they shouldn't be punished as a result of that either,
I wonder how we could find out. I wonder if there's an easy way to find out which schools have school papers. I wonder if the intermediate unit would know. Good question.
Contact all the superintendents in the county.
Well, there's only like 11 or so, right?
I thought it was more
What's
than
that? I'm sorry.
I said 11.
Are there?
No, I thought it was more than that.
I think it's more than that.
I thought it was close to 20.
No, there's not 20.
well,
Were you thinking of schools that either their publication is dormant or don't have it?
No, I was really looking at existing student newspapers. I'm not looking to form any or bring others back to life, but people who are consistently putting out student newspapers. So like I said, I don't think it will be a large fund,
Do
a
you think
large
there's a
gift
gap?
from us.
Do you think there's a gap between what they're getting now and what it should be? Because I'm trying to think how you would kind of target it a little bit. Or
Yeah, I
refine it.
see what you're saying. I do know that maybe we just need to do a little more research, because now as I think this out, I'm assuming school newspapers mean they have to pay a printer to print their papers, but chances are many of them may even be online now. So, the expense, may not be what I'm even assuming that it is.
Right.
So now I'm starting to question myself. What is?
And you'd have to look at, are we talking private schools? Are we talking Catholic schools? Are we talking, every kind of high school out there? High school, middle school, just high school?
And my colleges, at our college, we moved our newspaper online.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's the students just weren't reading something physical.
So it reminds me of our LifeWorks that we just approved today, that they have a radio program for kids, meaning they're trying to encourage kids to develop their own story, and somehow they're developing a radio program through that, or a podcast or something like that. So it can be more than just a newspaper or
Printed.
print media.
Yeah.
And I feel like I had a friend in high school. He went to Nether Providence way back when, before they merged, and he was a member of the AV club or something like that,
Yeah.
which I think had to do with reporting through the PA system or
Okay.
something like that.
Right. So you're thinking of a broader scope of journalism.
Yeah.
Okay. Good idea. Come back with more details in January.
Yeah,
if you
thanks for that,
can.
Ron, because I do remember the Chester Charter
Dollars.
the community college were right before pandemic looking to buy the podcast equipment to do podcasting.
Uh-huh.
So it was they were looking at like a package deal of $2,500 for the microphones and the mixer and just the equipment set up. So yeah, we'll think that out a little more.
Any other questions, comments, suggestions? So I think from what we're hearing, we're looking at core strategic partners such as the DCLC, I think that's Delaware County Literacy Council, share, food share program. We're also looking at the emergency services, continuing the emergency services grants. We're also talking about the next gen grants for youth as far as categories where the latter two are categories where there would need to be applications. Also a arts, culture and history, possibly a journalism grant, or we'll call it school journalism grant category.
Actually, I have a question or a thought about that. I mean, in terms, what I was thinking during the discussion is, I love the idea and journalism is incredibly important, but I don't know what category it fits into. I wonder if we could just promote the next round of next gen. I mean, if it's youth journalism, it might fit into next gen in a way, because standing alone,
It's kind of narrow.
yeah. But I think as a next gen, you know, if we're going to do next gen every year, the idea of having different focuses, like, hey, we're going to try and see if there's people doing youth journalism that are worth looking at and investing in, that might be a way to bring the new idea together with something that we're already doing and make it a little bit easier to get going.
Yeah, I think it does fit in there because some of the next gens things that we've done have been programs or activities within the schools, some of the schools, such as a after school program. So this would just be a activity that's within the school that we could probably fold the journalism into.
And it wouldn't even necessarily need to be a school. You know, you
Right.
could have a youth serving organization. I could see the Boys and Girls Club having some kind of a podcast or
Yeah.
some kind of
Or
a, yeah.
something. Yeah, cool.
Video, what do you call them?
Yeah, I
And
mean,
then
it's really a shame. We at Haverford High, we had WHHS, the radio station. It was one of the longest running high school radio stations in the country. It didn't survive into the podcasting era, right? But if it had hung on a little bit longer and then podcasting started, it would have been this really robust, cool infrastructure.
Right.
So that's something to think about. And the idea of adding history to arts and culture, I think, makes a lot of sense because it also gets us into economic development. I think the county has so much history and we're just getting good at or better at
Okay.
promoting it and projecting it, you know, so I do think that's a good suggestion from the chair.
The only other key partner, I can't remember if we talked about a third group, but we did have another grant that we've made that didn't fit into a category. And that was the grant for the Delaware County Community Colleges Center for Equity and Social Justice. And it was a small grant. It was only 5,000, but so I don't know if we would consider them to be a key partner, maybe a little bit more money, but and redirecting the balance to seniors, maybe.
Yeah, I would
So that's
probably,
another
I
thing.
think that was kind of a Kickstarter for them. So I would probably stick with the literacy and the
So just two key partners, not three.
I mean, the
we
other
could- we
idea,
could see what, we could talk about it a little bit.
Right. well, the other idea that I think we had, Francis, was the sustainability conference.
Yes.
Right, and like
Yes.
equity and social justice, sustainability,
Right.
food insecurity, these things, they're fundamental building blocks, right?
Right.
You can't have community
Mhm.
or economic development without these kind of building blocks in place. So I think, I think we could have two, we could have three. But I like the idea of keeping the strategic partners to those really core, like building block type things. I like that.
Yeah, I like the idea of the sustainability conference. That's
So,
providing some funding for that.
yeah. So the economic and community development, was that a category or was that
Yeah.
more of an open?
It was a category that,
Okay.
because we've talked about it, We've talked about supporting park projects. We had the folks from the planning department come in.
Okay,
Now they have a new planning department director. Who's just gotten started. So I had put we had talked about having those be at the end of the year as we,
okay,
focusing more now on the ones we funded before,
all right. And do we
seeing
still,
where we are financially.
and do we still have capability or capacity for an open special grant? Based
Sure.
on if
Sure.
if there are requests that come in that are, like I said, multi-municipality or multi.
But only, that's why these are at the end of the year, because you may not have the capacity.
Okay, all
You
right,
may have the capacity if we don't fund economic and community
Right,
development and parks. So that's really where we're starting out the year with less than we started out last year.
because we
So
had a
don't-
buildup of some money.
So we
after-
just don't have as much to spend this year.
Okay, all right. So I think, any comments or questions? I think casually, we're all in agreement with these categories. And we can come within the next, in your absence, would you like me to suggest a motion for the next meeting?
I would
On
say
any of
for the
these categories?
next meeting, I would love us to, let's get going again with the next gen grants.
Okay. You have a recommendation on a amount? Do you want to split up rounds?
I
Do you
think we
want to have
said
several rounds?
100,000, didn't we say 100? I think we said 100, which isn't as much as we did last year. Last year we did 160,000.
Can we
We blew past
do the,
our
dead-
100.
can we do the deadline in March and have them awarded in April for cash flow purposes?
Sure. But you can award them as they come in, because you're gonna have a lot of cash at the end of the year, by the looks of things.
Okay,
You're saying not to do it on a monthly basis? So I feel like that's what we've been doing as they come in.
yeah, I was making a suggestion to kind of more batch them. Throughout, I was thinking of cash flow purposes. I was thinking that we're going to county council 11, 12 times a year.
Yeah.
So just to make it more efficient. Yeah,
Well, let me ask this. Do we have to be there to present to county council? I mean,
no, I made a request for. How should I put it? I made a request for this last one. It just wasn't going to fit the schedule. We needed to get the money out to one organization rather quickly. Because it was a category that they've already approved, they said it was fine just to submit kind of like this summary. I think they would prefer me to be at a minimum, the agenda meeting.
to be there.
Yeah. But we'll talk about it, or I should say, we're talking about, I will put a motion on the agenda for January. And we'll vote on it, and then we can also discuss those logistics as far as
Yeah.
the.
I mean, I
how it's
do like,
distributed.
the organizations need the money, so moving it
Okay.
out the door, but I think you need backup. It shouldn't just be you coming in to present. We should be backing you up so that.
We'll figure it out. I'm you know the space of the nonprofit world in the county. And if you're saying that these organizations need this money on a timely basis, we'll continue to go that route.
Yeah,
But some of the EMS, they already have the funding where essentially reimbursing the municipality. So I think that's fine.
Okay.
We may not be able to do it with all the categories, but we'll continue
Mhm.
doing it within the next gen. I have no problem with that. All right, so I'll put a motion. Unless anybody objects on the agenda next month, and
So do you
we'll see what the
need,
results of the vote are.
do you need one of us to take a look at the description of last year's grant and update it for this year so that you have the full description to vote on? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I need the description for the motion. Frank wants to say something.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean, it seems like such a silly thing for you to do. Do you want me to take a look at it?
yes, if you don't.
Okay,
mind,
I'm
sure.
happy to do that.
Okay.
Happy to do that.
And we want to make sure that our I guess we're sticking to our guns as to you can't repeat yourself within a year, so are we
Yeah, no,
going to?
Why is that? I mean, just like we said no to someone because they came in 11 months too early or a month too late or something.
In this case, we provided funding a year ago. So
Okay.
this is our new round,
This
and
is a
we
new
can't
round.
prevent them from, I think it would be unfair to say just because we're moving the cycle up earlier. Do you understand what I mean?
Mhm.
I think it would be unfair.
I think it's a new, I think it's a new calendar year.
Right, and so if we gave someone some money last summer, we might give them money again in the spring.
Yeah.
I mean,
When was the last month that we made a grant in the next gen category? Would anybody remember that? It was in the spring or summer.
I'd have to
think it was
look, I'd have to
this
look,
summer.
and we made some physical presentations to some of those
Right.
organizations in probably late summer as well.
Okay, why don't I take a look at the language and I'll share it and then you can give me feedback.
One
Okay,
of the
right,
concerns I have is, and this was, I think we're all compassionate, caring people. We allocated 100,000, and we went to like 160. I think we're gonna have to stick to our guns,
That's right. And
because
we
we
can
just
always,
don't have the
we could always at the end of the year say, let's reopen for another
round or something.
round of a small amount of money if we feel that we've got enough.
Yeah.
What do you think, Ron? What were you just?
Well, yeah, I don't see why that created a problem. We said we limit of 100,000, then we bumped it up to 160, which
Right.
is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But it's almost like, oh, these are good organizations. It's not like we,
Oh, yeah, I know, but I think we set the bar up here and now this is what we have this year, so. it's
Well,
just-
well, if we want to do all
If-
these
if we
other
have budget
things,
Issues, yeah, right,
then we
sure.
have to stick to 100
Right,
to start the year.
correct.
We
correct.
could, at the end of the year, decide, oh, we got all those good proposals at the beginning of the year. We weren't able to fund them. Maybe that's more important than economic and community development and parks.
The Eagles went to the Super Bowl, so we got $120,000 in Q2 or something, yeah, over our budget. All right, okay. All right, so I will do that. Any other questions or comments as part of this discussion? I thank everyone for their feedback and participation in this discussion. I think it's good to have this in an open forum and transparent process. Okay, so let's move on to new business. I make a motion to reimburse Stefan Roots $100 for estimated cost for posting. I think that should be postage. Postage, so we'll change that to postage. And I think this is far less than the amount. Postage, printing, paper, and envelopes incurred in 2021 and 2022 calendar years. Future expenses require receipts for reimbursement. So when we started.
Is that a motion on the floor?
That's a motion on the floor.
I second the motion.
Second motion. Questions and comments? Thank you. Questions and comments?
The only comment is, and I think you were probably about to get to it, is that in the beginning, I was using my own paper.
Right.
We've since gone to a printer, so we're taking care of that. The only minor issue is I had just run out of stamps that I just had left over from the house. So I just made a $100 purchase of stamps. So the receipt that I'll be submitting will have a December 2022 date for, the 2023 stamps that we'll be using throughout the year, if you will.
That's no problem. Yeah, so like you said, when we just got the stationery, when did we get the stationery? Around March or April, maybe, of this year?
I don't remember when, but
We got it.
it's almost time to reorder. So
Oh, is it really?
it is.
Okay, all right. So he was using paper for a while. We got some stationery.
Too.
Yeah,
I must say,
stationery is
it
nice,
gives
yeah.
us a real professional touch.
So, I didn't want him to come out of his pocket. This is a small amount compared to what he's probably actually spent on paper, envelopes,
Sure,
postage,
of course.
and printer cartridges. So,
Gas.
Well, they had to go drop off.
And delivering checks.
oh yeah, he had to deliver a few checks a couple times too. Yeah, but
It's all part of
he volunteered to do that. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, abstained, motion carried.
Thank you, guys.
Oh, he abstained.
Oh, I abstain.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Motion to approve and authorize solicitor to authorize 2023 meeting calendar. Meetings occur at 2 p.m. and here are the proposed 2023 dates. They go from January through December 21. Do I have a second for this motion?
Second.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carried. Okay, at this time, we'll open up the meeting for public comment. We have no public comment. At this time, I'll open up the meeting for authority comments.
Good meeting.
Good meeting. Thank you, everyone.
So is January the reorganization meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
Should I have that? What, should that be? Will you note that in the calendar? Okay, all right, because that wasn't, I didn't put that on here. Thank you everyone for their participation. This is
Thank
a
you,
great
Paul.
authority. Everyone is involved in doing the work. And on behalf of the authority, we want to wish everyone a very inclusive happy holidays to include all of the holidays. I want to make sure that everyone is included. And
Thank you, Paul.
meeting is a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved. Oh.
Questions or comments?
All in
Meeting,
favor?
all in favor? Aye. Meeting is adjourned. 2:57.